Palworld, the first viral game of the year, garnering millions of players and potentially even more haters, all over the course of a single weekend. And in this open-world monster hunting game, there's plenty to hate. From a company head with documented interest in AI art to the very blatant plagiarism of designs within their game. Pokemon fans in particular took to social media in droves to express their distaste in these stolen concepts. Failing to mention, Palworld also stole Pokemon's lack of player character facial expressions and still no voice acting in the year of our Lord 2024. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Pokemon isn't the only victim, though. Fortnite had its overall aesthetics nabbed, and Elden Ring called. It's missing its riding animations, abandoned church motif, and big-ass yellow tree. How could so many loyal consumers of these franchises choose to support a game company like this? A company so ignorant to industry etiquette and so arrogant as to think we wouldn't notice. Here's the problem. It is so fucking fun. Look, I have a lot of opinions regarding the morality and practices of this game, its company, and what it means for the future of gaming as a whole. Please do look for that in another video. The fact of the matter is, I have a Pokemon YouTube channel with, as you can imagine, a ton of demand to give my impressions on this game. I don't like to express my thoughts without forming my own opinion based on my own experiences, because gaming Twitter is a hellscape on this topic at the moment, with Palworld bros using this game to justify AI art and plagiarism, and others calling this game a lazy asset grab without having played it themselves. I refuse to do either of those things. This is my experience. As a Pokemon fan, I heard about the game where you could shoot Pikachu in the face with a gun a long time ago. I had no interest whatsoever, chalking it up to just another knockoff game trying to grab attention. Turns out, that wasn't entirely wrong. But also, there is so much more. I fired up the early access game and hopped into character creation. I turned 30 this year, so bam, old guy. I step out into the world and the first thing I see is this Meganium Goodra looking dude. Not gonna lie, he looks dumb and uninspired, but he also looks strong. So as I try and figure out how to catch him, I end up punching a sheep down a hill. I really thought I'd be thrown by the cute creatures plus violence thing, but I can't tell you how quickly I got on board with the sheer stupidity of this combo. I was gonna have to skip Magudrium for now. Gramps had to set up camp. I start picking up rocks and sticks off the ground, and I soon realize I'm not getting those guns from the trailer anytime soon. This game throws you back in time, and before I can even focus on catching creatures and exploring, I literally needed fire and food. I'm not in the magical world of Pokemon living my best life. I'm in the Pokemon world brought to you by Wish.com, fighting to survive. Wild chickens and cats are strolling past me as I attempt to make sense of a mile-long crafting menu so I can unlock sweatpants. I start to build a camp, and I start recruiting a team. Palworld's marketing seemed to suggest that these creatures would end up being forced to work in my sweatshop, but my crew was pretty happy to contribute toward our mutual well-being, at least for now. As I gather more pals, I start running into different types, and these different types seem to be better at different kinds of tasks back at camp. I also see some pretty overqualified candidates that I'm nowhere near ready for, including this asshole again. Does that stop me from trying, though? I'm entangled. That dude crushed me. When you die, you drop all of your items and respawn back at camp, so you got a mission impossible back to wherever you were in your loincloth with no tools, which can be tricky. As I build my team, I level up, however, investing in stats and unlocking more equipment. Is that stamina-based climbing and a glider? Yeah, this game is Breath of the Wild as well. While doing some crafting, the homies get raided by a bunch of pink lizard ladies. We smack them down and cook them up. Turns out, you don't feel so bad eating Pokemon when they're trying to kill you first. After my sweatshop installs a jacuzzi, we get raided again, this time by a bunch of human poachers who, shot at us with pistols. No sweat though, by now I was thriving in my Katniss, Aloy, Legolas era. Eventually I unlock the ability to craft tools for specific pals to use, including one that makes my fox a flamethrower and one that makes my llama a horse. This gives me the confidence to spread out further on the map to unlock more fast travel points, and I end up stumbling upon a camp with more of those poachers. Time to show them how it feels to get raided. Clearing them out gives me a chance to free a new pal from their giant cage. beach, and he makes the great decision to join up with my squad. Does he look exactly like a Sobble Clodsire Frankenstein mashup? Yes, he does. Does he bounce around on his big old belly? Yes, he does. After grabbing some seemingly strong monsties in this new area, I realize it's probably time I repay a visit to my old nemesis. The first bastard I laid eyes on, my white whale. And get that boy in the tub. We're really cooking now, and the game has leveled up so far that I'm able to ride around on the Elden Deer and even fly through the air on an edgy bird pal that's literally just called Nightwing. Despite building a ton of beds and feeding my team high-quality tools, I did at this point have a couple of frustrated employees that came with negative personality traits. No worries though. I just took them off the schedule. I know not every workplace is the right fit for every worker. You can still use me as a reference for your future endeavors, fam. After souping up my field team and all of my gear, it was looking like time to check that last task off the tutorial list. I had to take out a poacher boss who was holed up in a local tower and bring an end to her scourge on the region. But first I had to craft a little leaf hat. Diving into the first fight, she's riding around on my Electabuzz Totoro, and while even after all this time I'm still unable to craft firearms, that don't mean my Neopet Grookey ain't packing heat. After a comparatively lengthy battle of ducking behind cover and the revenge of Slobble, my grandpa Pikmin ass dropped the first big bad and we reclaimed the tower. I was pleasantly surprised and impressed by my early experience here in Palworld. The adult, deeply systemed, mechanics-rich Pokemon game that 90s kids have been asking and waiting a lifetime for is finally here. The only sad thing, they're not Pokemon. Riding around on Dick Grayson, I couldn't help but think I'd rather be riding a Pidgeot or crafting a berry field for my Piplup to water back at camp. Instead, I have these characters that, while relatively cute, feel like when you clearly catch a glimpse of the stunt double's face in a fight scene, it's not perfect, but it's what's here, and for me, it didn't ruin the movie, like it understandably might for others. Without diving too far into what, again, you'll be able to find in another video on the channel, the creatures are actually the worst thing about this game. None of them stood out to me as particularly interesting or creative, and as a, yes, still, massive Pokemon fan, the copy-pastes were glaringly obvious when I came across them. Some Zoroark in there. And I could be wrong here, but I actually really haven't seen much praise for the creature designs themselves among Palworld players. And I do think there's a bit of a disconnect on the belief that the creatures are the main reason most people are enjoying and are drawn to this game. This certainly isn't the case for me. I did not love the monsters. I did have fun in the game. For the record, nobody deserves to have their art stolen or designs repurposed without credit, even if you're a giant company. If you ask me, I don't think we've seen the last of this issue in the industry, as we're all living in a capitalist society with nonsensical legal frameworks and little to no preparation for the direction technology is taking us. That said, let's remember how often Pokemon faces these replication issues, both because it is the biggest media franchise in the world and because it is ultimately so beloved. Personally, I think a fandom for Pokemon shines through in the design of these game mechanics, even if the designs themselves range from just okay to a blatant ripoff. In its 30-year history of video games, Pokemon has scratched a lot of itches. Palworld just scratches a few spots Pokemon missed, and frankly, I don't think has any interest in scratching. There haven't been many games to combine so many of my favorite video game mechanics like Palworld has. Even if I'd so much rather Pokemon or a different company make this game. And until the day that I can slip away from my self-sustaining Pokemon camp and hug a real Meganium or Goodra around the neck on a mountaintop like this one, I may just keep playing Palworld for just a little while longer. Psych! Seconds after this, I clipped through the mountain and couldn't get out no matter how hard I tried, soft locking my save. Pokemon, you gotta sue these guys already. They're stealing everything you're known for.